Imagine it is 2 a.m. on a Thursday. Your marketing lead just launched this major new campaign, right? And a massive influx of leads is just pouring into a Google Sheet.
Which sounds like a good problem to have, honestly.
Right. But meanwhile, your operations lead is frantically copy-pasting all those names into an entirely different piece of software, just to, assign tracking tasks to your software
Oh
developer.
yeah, the classic late-night data migration.
Exactly. And all of this is happening while someone else is trying to manually update this static Gantt chart for an investor meeting the next morning. It is just chaos.
And that specific kind of friction, I mean, that is exactly why scaling a startup usually doesn't fail because of a bad product. It fails because the underlying operational architecture simply collapses under its own weight.
Yeah.
We see teams treating their software stack like like a casual app download on their phone, when they really should be treating it like pouring the foundation concrete for a skyscraper. If you pour it wrong on day one, fixing it on day 300 means you basically have to tear the whole building down.
Well, welcome to your custom-tailored deep dive. We are taking that exact problem and solving it for your highly specific reality. You are running a lean three-person startup.
Right, so that is an operations lead, a marketing lead, and a software developer.
Mm-hmm. And you gave us your absolute non-negotiables. You are keeping Google Workspace Business Standard as your base layer. You require both Kanban boards and Gantt timeline functionality. You need this platform to natively act as your CRM too.
That is a big one.
Huge. And lastly, you are hyper-focused on balancing your current lean budget against the inevitable reality of scaling up. Choosing your startup's operating system, it is kind of like picking a new office building. Do you want a fully furnished suite where you just plug in your laptop, or an empty warehouse where you have to build the walls yourself?
That is a great analogy.
Uh-huh.
Because the central tension here is that a developer, a marketer, and an operations lead, they fundamentally conceptualize work in completely different ways.
Oh, totally.
Like, a developer thinks in terms of agile sprints. They want a clean, distraction-free board where a ticket just moves from in progress to done. But a marketer, they usually think chronologically and visually, right? They live and die by the campaign calendar.
And the ops lead is just trying to see how it all connects.
Exactly. The ops lead is thinking relationally. They are looking for bottlenecks on a high-level Gantt chart to see how, say, a delay in software impacts a marketing launch. So your mission isn't just finding a tool with the right feature checklist. It is finding a translation engine.
A translation engine, I like that.
Yeah, an engine that allows those three brains to communicate without forcing them into data silos.
So let's start by looking at the trap of absolute simplicity, which our sources highlight perfectly through Trello.
Oh, Trello.
Right. On paper, for $5 a user per month, Trello looks incredibly appealing to a software developer. It is the gold standard for a simple Kanban board. But I mean, a Kanban board is literally just digital sticky notes on a white wall. It is a linear task list.
Which completely breaks down the moment you introduce your CRM and Gantt constraints. Out of the box, Trello lacks real relational database capabilities.
Yeah, it really does.
To get a Gantt chart, or to capture complex CRM data like lead scoring, last contact dates, company revenue, you have to bolt on what Trello calls power-ups.
And I was looking at the technical analysis of these power-ups in the sources, and it just sounds like a logistical nightmare for a scaling team. You aren't just clicking a button to add a feature. You are literally granting third-party developers access to your board.
Yes, exactly.
Your data is no longer unified. It is just pinging back and forth between Trello's servers and a half-dozen independent vendor servers.
It creates an incredibly fragile ecosystem. When you rely on third-party plugins to build your core operational infrastructure, you're adopting their downtime, their security vulnerabilities, and their separate billing cycles too.
Which defeats the purpose of a lean budget.
Right. You start with a $5 lean tool, and by the time you bolted on enough plugins to fake a CRM and a Gantt chart, you are managing 5 different subscriptions and dealing with massive data fragmentation.
So if bolting pieces onto a simple board is out, we have to look at platforms that are structurally complete right out of the box. That brings us to Asana.
Okay, Asana.
The starter plan is $10.99 per user per month. It gives you the Kanban boards for the dev, and it has incredibly polished native timeline and Gantt views for operations. But what's really fascinating from the research is Asana's philosophical stance on where your files should actually live.
Yeah, Asana takes a very deliberate approach to file management, which is that they don't really want to do it.
Which is wild for a project management tool.
Well, they know you are already paying for Google Workspace Business Standard, and they respect that ecosystem. Asana isn't trying to replace Google Drive. What it does instead is map what they call the work graph.
Let's break down how the work graph actually functions under the hood, because this is where a lot of teams get confused about what they are actually paying for. If Asana integrates perfectly with Google Workspace, and we are just attaching links to our existing Google Docs and Sheets inside of Asana tasks, aren't we essentially paying $11 a month just for a fancy directory to our Google Drive?
It looks that way, but no. You are paying for dependency mapping. In a simple directory, files just exist in isolation. But in Asana's work graph, tasks are treated as nodes in a highly connected network.
Okay, so how does that play out in real life?
So if your developer links a Google Doc containing API documentation to a specific task and then delays that task by 3 days, Asana mathematically calculates how that delay cascades through the rest of the network.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it automatically updates the Gantt chart for the ops lead and flags the marketing lead that the launch campaign attached to that feature is now at risk. You are paying for the algorithm that calculates those relational impacts in real time.
That sounds incredible for operations. But there is a massive reality check when it comes to your CRM constraint.
Right, the CRM issue.
I was digging through the candid Reddit user threads from ops leads who actually tried to use Asana as a CRM. They universally complain that it forces you to adapt your sales pipeline to a project management structure, rather than adapting the software to your pipeline.
And the mechanism behind that complaint is really how Asana handles custom fields at its lower tiers. A CRM fundamentally requires a dense relational database. You need specific, highly customizable fields to track things like lead status, deal size, client contact info.
Interaction history, all of that.
Exactly. Because Asana's foundational architecture is built around projects and tasks, it lacks that granular native CRM field customization at the starter tier. You end up trying to cram complex client data into a basic task description box.
Which sounds awful.
It is. It means you can't filter, sort, or report on that data efficiently at all.
So, if Asana is too rigid to act as a proper database for marketing and sales, the next logical step in the sources is the platform specifically designed to bridge the gap between visual project management and relational data, Monday.com.
Ah, Monday.
And there is a pricing quirk here that feels almost tailor-made for you. Monday requires a minimum purchase of 3 seats for its paid plans. Since your startup has exactly 3 people, it is basically a mathematically perfect footprint.
It is a funny coincidence. And at $12 per user per month for their standard plan, Monday delivers the Kanban and Gantt views you need. But its underlying architecture is completely different from Asana.
How so?
Monday is essentially a highly visual, interactive relational database. For your marketing and operations leads, it feels less like a strict project manager and more like a vibrant, interconnected spreadsheet.
Right, where columns can easily be formatted as CRM data points.
Exactly. Phone numbers, drop-down lead statuses, progress bars. The adoption rate is usually incredibly fast because it maps intuitively to how non-technical people organize information.
I found the catch, though.
There is always a catch.
We looked at the fine print of that $12 standard plan, and it revolves around how Monday handles automations. You are limited to 250 automation actions per month.
Yeah, and 250 actions for an entire company is functionally nothing. Let's look at the mechanics of an automation to understand why.
Okay.
An automation requires server compute power to run a trigger, evaluate a condition, and execute an action. So if your operations lead sets up a rule that says when a new lead fills out a form on our website, create a CRM card, assign it to marketing, and send a notification to Slack.
That sounds like one automation.
It sounds like it, but that is not one action. Depending on how the logic triggers, that single lead might consume 3 or 4 of your allotted actions just to process.
Wait, really? So a single successful marketing day could completely drain your monthly quota?
Oh, absolutely.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Monday sounds like buying a sports car with a strict mileage limit. You get a great ride, but if your ops team works too fast or too efficiently, your digital engine just shuts down. It's like hiring a brilliant digital intern who works at lightning speed, but physically falls asleep at their desk after exactly 250 clicks.
That is a perfect way to put it.
And once they fall asleep, your operations lead is right back to manually copy-pasting data at 2 a.m. Is that just a trap for a scaling startup?
The Reddit reviews show this exact pain point happening constantly to growing teams. You hit that ceiling in the first week of the month. To get a usable amount of automation compute, say 25,000 actions Monday, forces you to upgrade to their Pro plan.
Which is a big jump.
It jumps from $12 to $19 per user per month. The platform scales beautifully in terms of visual features, but the pricing scales aggressively by basically weaponizing your own operational efficiency against you.
Ouch. That brings us to the most controversial option in the stack. If integrating tools creates fragile ecosystems and basic plans hit immediate automation limits, the market response has been the everything app, ClickUp.
The heavyweight.
Right. Their value proposition is aggressively targeted at your exact constraints. The unlimited plan is just $7 per user per month. For that $7, you get unlimited Gantt charts, unlimited Kanban boards, and crucially, unlimited custom fields.
And those unlimited custom fields are the absolute key to the CRM requirement. Instead of hacking a task manager, ClickUp allows you to build a true database schema on top of your tasks.
So you can actually define exact parameters for client data and financial metrics.
Yes, lead tracking, all of it. But the real engineering feat of ClickUp is how it solves the multi-departmental translation issue we discussed earlier. They built something called the everything view.
Okay, so what does that all mean for our listener? How does that actually work mechanically? Are they just duplicating the tasks?
No, and that is the brilliant part. The underlying data is just a single unified database record. But ClickUp allows each user to apply a different rendering layer to that exact same record.
I see.
So your software developer logs in and only sees a clean, agile Kanban board. Your marketer logs in and sees those identical database records rendered as blocks on a monthly calendar. Operations sees them as interdependent bars on a master Gantt chart. They're all touching the exact same data, but the software morphs to fit how their specific brain processes information.
But if ClickUp does everything for $7, what is the catch? Is it like a Swiss Army knife where it has 50 tools but the scissors barely cut? Because the Reddit threads for ClickUp are incredibly polarized.
They're repolarized.
Users either swear it saved their company or they describe it as an absolute nightmare of performance lag and UI bloat. I saw multiple reports of basic cages taking 5 to 10 seconds to load. Why is a tool that sounds perfect on paper causing that much technical friction?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the friction comes directly from the architecture of the Everything app. When you build a piece of software that allows infinite customization and multiple rendering layers, you are asking the user's browser to load a massive, heavy framework every single time they click a button.
So it's just heavy.
Yeah, ClickUp is essentially a 747 cockpit with 400 blinking switches. If you just need to fly a simple Cessna, say, jotting down a quick meeting note, having 400 switches in front of you creates severe cognitive overload.
And there is a massive behavioral clash between ClickUp's underlying philosophy and your explicit constraint to stick with Google Workspace. ClickUp does have integrations for Google Drive, but its ultimate goal is total ecosystem lock-in.
It really is.
It wants you to use ClickUp native docs, ClickUp native whiteboards, and ClickUp native chat. It basically wants to own every keystroke your team makes.
Which introduces a really dangerous psychological element, the path of least resistance.
Right.
If you choose ClickUp, your operations lead must act as a ruthless administrator. They have to constantly police the team to ensure meeting notes and client files are actually being saved in Google Workspace as intended.
Because if they don't, human nature takes over.
Exactly. It is just faster to hit new doc inside ClickUp. Within 6 months, half of your critical company knowledge is trapped inside ClickUp's proprietary format, and the other half is in Google Drive. You accidentally create the exact fragmented data silos you were trying to avoid in the first place.
So we have looked at the big three, Asana's strict structure, Monday's visual automations, and ClickUp's overwhelming feature density. But diving into the deeper industry analyses, there are tools built specifically to counter the bloated interfaces of the heavyweights.
The dark horses.
Yeah. Good Day is the standout dark horse for your parameters. It starts at just $4 per user per month or $7 for their business tier. It natively integrates CRM, Gantt charts, and time tracking directly alongside Google Workspace. The technical review specifically praised it for prioritizing data density over social bloat.
And data density is a crucial concept for a software developer and an ops lead. Tools like ClickUp and Monday dedicate a massive amount of screen real estate to large avatars, colorful status bubbles, and wide margins.
The social bloat.
Right, the social bloat. Good Day strips that away.
Yeah.
It is engineered more like a high-performance database terminal. You can see drastically more information, more rows, more dependencies, more raw data on a single laptop screen without ever scrolling.
It's visually drier, maybe?
It is visually drier,
Yeah.
but for complex operations, that density speeds up data processing significantly.
But let's address the scaling argument head on. Do we really need to worry about enterprise features and scaling right now for a three-person team? Or is that just premature optimization? I mean, it feels like over-engineering when a team of three should just be moving as fast as possible to build their product.
Picking your foundational data architecture on day one is never premature optimization. It is disaster prevention. Absolutely. If you build your startup's CRM and project management workflows on a platform with a wrong schema, say, a tool that relies entirely on tags rather than relational custom fields, you are guaranteeing a catastrophic migration event in the future.
What does that migration event actually look like for a startup?
When you scale from 3 to 15 employees, your data volume exponentially increases. If your system isn't structured to handle relational queries, it just breaks. You will be forced to migrate to a new platform.
And migrations are never fun.
They are a nightmare. Migrating a disorganized, non-relational database requires exporting messy CSV files, mapping thousands of unstructured data points to a new schema, and retraining your entire staff. It is a process that can literally pause business operations for weeks.
Oh, wow.
You lose leads, you miss development sprints, and your operations lead just burns out. You aren't just picking a tool for today. You are choosing the operational drag you will carry 2 years from now.
That completely reframes the decision. So let's synthesize all of this so you can make the final call with your team. If your priority is a strict, clean project structure that inherently respects your Google Workspace constraint and naturally limits the chaos of over-customization as you scale, Asana at $10.99 is your safest bet.
Right. You will just have to accept some structural friction when utilizing it as your CRM.
Now, if bridging the gap between operations and marketing is your primary hurdle, and you want an intuitive, highly visual CRM hybrid that feels like a next-generation spreadsheet Monday.com fits your three-seat footprint flawlessly at $12, you just need to mathematically audit your automation usage so you aren't blindsided by a forced upgrade to the $19 tier.
Keep an eye on those 250 actions.
Exactly. But if your operations lead is highly disciplined, and you want maximum database capabilities unlimited, Gantt, granular CRM custom fields, and the everything view, all on a deeply lean budget, ClickUp at $7 mathematically wins. Just be prepared to fight the steep learning curve and strictly enforce your Google Drive rules against its ecosystem lock-in.
Well, there is one final critical shift in the software landscape from the sources that fundamentally changes the math of running a lean three-person startup.
Okay, what is that?
We are seeing the aggressive integration of autonomous AI agents directly into these project management ecosystems.
Of course, AI.
Yeah. Tools like ClickUp Brain and platforms like Taskade are no longer just offering simple chatbots that summarize text. They're deploying functional agents that can autonomously execute automation scripts, triage incoming CRM leads, and even generate baseline code blocks directly within the task cards.
Wait, so the software ceases to just be a passive space where work is tracked and actually becomes an active participant doing the work.
Precisely. And the pricing models are rapidly evolving to match this shift. These platforms are beginning to charge monthly subscription fees for AI capabilities just as they do for human users.
Wow.
So as you map out your scaling budget over the next 2 years, you have to factor in a totally new paradigm. Your fourth, fifth, and sixth team members might not be human hires. They might be autonomous digital employees living permanently inside your project management architecture, requiring their own monthly seat licenses.
That is wild.
Choosing a platform now isn't just about how humans interact with data. It is about choosing the environment where your future AI agents will operate.
The idea of paying a monthly salary to an AI living inside your Gantt chart is a wild, incredibly vital concept to consider as you build out your stack. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take these architectural insights back to your marketing and software partners, because whether you decide to adopt the strict framework of Asana, the visual databases of Monday, or the deep complexity of ClickUp, you now know exactly how the underlying mechanics will dictate how your startup actually operates.